Good morning and welcome to the CEO Show. I'm Sheila Harrison, your host. I'm also the publisher of the Houston Business Guide, your access to Houston's top executives. Visit HoustonBusinessGuide.com and look at our top company section and figure out how we can help you build your business. This morning, I'm delighted to have as my guest Erica O'Grady of Peanut Butter Media. Love the name. We'll find out a little bit more about how that name got to come about later. But right now, Erica, I'd love to hear a little bit about your growing up. One of the things I like to do with my entrepreneurs is try to figure out what was it in your life that planted the seeds that have ultimately made you want to start your own business. So can you give us kind of a little trip from your growing up to education and first jobs maybe?
Absolutely.
All right.
So I was actually born in upstate New York, so I'm not a Texan by birth.
How far upstate?
Canandaigua. It's kind of outside of Syracuse.
Okay.
So it's a really small place. And I moved to Texas when I was 4.
Oh.
And I lived in Corpus for a while, and then my parents moved to the Austin area, and I lived in Austin. Then I ended up growing up in New Braunfels.
Oh,
and I went
that's a beautiful town.
It's wonderful. Right on the Comal River,
Right.
and Schlitterbahn, which is the largest water park, is there. And so I ended up going to New Braunfels High School, where we have the only high school in the entire world where our mascot is a unicorn.
A unicorn.
It's kind of fitting because it's remarkable, right?
It is.
And I think it's neat to come from a place that remarkable and get to do remarkable things.
And with that much imagination.
Exactly.
Great.
And so I grew up there, and I ended up going to school at Texas State University. And during this time, when I was in high school, my father owned 2 Amcos and a New Braunfels auto repair. And so
transmission franchises.
Absolutely.
And an auto repair.
Yes.
Okay.
And so he was a businessman.
Yeah.
And my mother was a stay-at-home mom. When I got to college, my mother decided to go back to school. And so she actually went to college with me and got her degree at 50.
How wonderful.
And I'm really proud of her.
Yeah.
And so she's now a teacher today, and my dad's also a teacher. It's kind of it's an interesting retirement that they have going on where they teach during the school year. He teaches auto mechanics, fittingly.
Perfect.
And she teaches family and consumer sciences, which is basically home ec.
Yes, which is now co-ed.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And so they're really interesting people. And so I lived there, and I went to school at Texas State University, where I majored in everything. In fact, I have 220 college hours. And I don't know if you know anything about college hours, but it's about 127 for a degree.
Yeah.
And I have 220 and no degree. And in fact, I'm 6 hours short of my psychology degree. But I majored in everything. I majored in philosophy and communications and science and French. In fact, I majored in everything but computers. Everything but computer science.
And now that's what you're working at.
In fact, I ended up being a technologist for a long time. So I moved to Houston. And when I got here, I started my first company, which was eFusion Design. And it was a web design company. And I went out and I got my LLC.
You mean you just started?
I did.
You didn't ever work for somebody else?
Well, I started there, and it didn't go so well.
Oh, okay.
Because I think you have a little bit of learning and growing up to do that happens.
Yeah.
I really think I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to have my own company. I like the flexibility. I like the challenge. I like that feeling of growth, and being in control of everything is really something that I really need to have.
Can you look back now through the rearview mirror and maybe figure out why it didn't work that first time?
I think that I was really stubborn. I think that I was unable to ask for help, and that I did one thing backwards. I think the number one thing you have to do to start a business is build a network first.
Yeah.
If you don't build a network of people who will sell you for you so that you don't have to sell yourself all the time, then you're really doing things backwards.
You're right.
And so I ended up really unhappy, and I started taking a couple jobs here and there that I didn't really enjoy. And I said one day to a friend, I said, you know, wouldn't it be awesome if somebody would just put me up in a business downtown? And it's funny because that's actually how I ended up in web design and development. Is I was building a website for my aunt and uncle, and I was in college still, and the Department of Institutional Effectiveness at Southwest Texas was going through all the websites of the students and saw the website I was building for my aunt and uncle and said, do you want to come be a web designer for us? And I ended up as a web designer for the university while I was going to school, simply on that kind of fluke. It was all luck. And I just said that. Wouldn't that be neat if
Yeah.
I could do this for a living? And then the next day I got this email. And so this happened again. So I said to a friend, I said, wouldn't it be neat if someone would put me up in a really awesome office in downtown Houston, bring clients to me, and I could just do the things that I love doing? And I got this email from this lawyer. And he basically said that. He said, hey, I want to start this web design and development company, come in and have an interview. And we sat down and we talked. We ended up picking a name.
Perfect fit.
Exactly. We started a company and we did web design development and I had offices in the Heritage Plaza building, downtown, just where I wanted.
Now, what was the name of that company?
And it was called Creativerse.
Creativerse, I like that.
A universe of creativity. And we spent all day brainstorming names to come up with that. And so I did that for about a year and a half. And the whole time, and even though it was, he kept saying he wasn't my boss, he was my partner, there was still that, almost, I hate to say cognitive dissonance, but something like that, where you're feeling like you're not, it's not really yours. It's still someone else's. Someone else is putting the money into it. Someone else is really making the final decision.
And you're an employee.
And you're an employee. Even though that wasn't the way it was on paper, that's what it felt like. So I left there and I took another job. I did that for about 6 months, and then I met some people and we were talking, and they said we should start a company. And I said, all right. So the three of us got together and we started a company called the Method Agency. And the Method Agency was a web design, development, and social media consulting company, because by this point in time, I had started to build up a reputation in the community. In fact, I wasn't making a whole lot of money at Creativerse, but I was spending a whole lot of money traveling and getting to know people and really interacting with the Houston community and doing these events called bar camps.
I got to hear about